Hey folks, HTCG here, and in today's video we have a black yellow Luffy deck profile. So this is a list that, if you've been watching the streams, I've been practicing a lot with. I'm messing around with the lists and trying to find answers to some of the current difficulties in the meta. And this is one of the decks that is favoured to be the best in the meta, but it definitely is a little bit finicky to play, and some of the matchups feel a little bit odd. I don't think there are any matchups right now where I feel very, very comfortable. So yeah, we can get into the deck profile. But let's just throw everything around. Yeah, starting off with 4 Garp and 4 of the 1 cost events. They both do the same thing. They allow you to check top 5 for Sabo, Ace, or Luffy. I think 4 of each is mandatory, honestly. I think like this card, these are just like super relevant, especially because we are effectively playing a combo deck, and like being able to see your pieces in a combo deck is very, very important. So yeah, being able to see these 10-1 or sometimes 10-2 as well is super, super useful, because most of the time in some matchups you're going to need the 5 cost Luffy, or you're going to need the Sabo, so making sure that you can see those pieces is very, very relevant. Next up is the babies. So we got 4 baby Sabo, 4 baby Luffy, and 3 baby Ace. So yeah, we run 5 Sabos, 7 Luffys, and only 2 Aces. And I'll get into that now when I go into them, but if you don't know what they do, you can trash them as a character. Look at the top card of your life, and if it's the card that identifies, so if it's Ace and it's Ace, you get to play the Ace from your life and give your leader 2k power until the end of next turn. Very, very good, very, very relevant. What's really nice is they're all 2 costs, so you can like double bring them back from Moria's, which is nice. And then these are the targets that we're grabbing. We're grabbing the Luffys, so 7 Luffys, 4 from the starter deck, 3 Spaceman Luffy. I do run 5 Sabos, so I'm running 4 of the normal one, and then 1 from the starter deck. So yeah, we can do like a quick breakdown of what once I've laid them all out, and then I'm running only 2 Ace, which seems a bit off, because in a lot of my other decks that I've done with this, I've ran 3 of the Ace, but I think it's become a little bit less relevant in the current format, and people can just deal with it a lot better. So right now, honestly, for me, usually it used to be this Sabo was like the GOAT of the entire deck, and it still is. It's still a very relevant card, but this Luffy has become the GOAT for me. It helps me get lower life. It's quite difficult for some decks to just straight up deal with, and being an AK beat stick is super, super nice. Like the only matchup right now that I'm not like kind of mulliganing for this for is like the Lucci matchup, because they just immediately deal with it, and also Perona, because they just reduce it by 1 and rest it and then Ryuma it, and that's where like the Sabo comes in more valuable. But it is very, very useful against so many different things. RP Law being 8k means you have to give me 2 cards to be able to get rid of it. Against Enel, against Bonnie, which is already feels like an exceptionally terrible matchup, but being able to play multiple of these out, and being an AK beat stick is very, very important. So yeah, it's nice. I like it. It's really good in a mirror match too, because you're able to just go to 8k, and while they're trying to build the board, sometimes you can just like unga bunga them, and it's very difficult for this deck to deal with 5 cost characters. Because of this next card, we got the Spaceman Luffy. 3 is perfect. You don't need to see more of it. As long as you're seeing at least 1 of it, it's nice. Some games you can see 2 and just loop it like immensely. It's really, really good. It's kind of the card that I'm looking for against RP Law, because half of their deck are 4 costs, and you just being able to go down to 2 and then constantly loop this is super valuable. You get your card advantage back from it, and also it KOs a 4 cost. It also has a trigger to KO up to one of your opponent's characters costs 4 or less, which does come up sometimes, but not that much, because it'll only ever come up in the early game. Yeah, don't really need to go into Sabo. It's really nice for the protection, but decks are building to go around that now with the 6 cost Brooks going into Lucci lists. Immediately it can just be dealt with by Perona. It can be dealt with by RP Law very, very easily, because they just use 1 Gordon or Max, and it's gone. So yeah, 1 Sabo. This is something I'm just toying with a little bit. There are some 5 costs in the meta that are like very, very frustrating for us to have to deal with, namely 5 cost Kid, the 5-cost Cavendish for green as well is like a problem card. As soon as it's down, you really need to get rid of it. So yeah, there's just a lot of really good cards. Like against an L, a lot of the time they'll just like plonk this down and leave it and wait to see if you play a 4-cost, which is kind of weird because we're not going to. But like if you can KO this, you can stop them drawing a card, which it comes up. So yeah, one of us is fine for now, and it's nice to have an additional Sabo target. I also like it because it just self damages. So sometimes in the early game I'll do a combo where I can do Hiyori to place this in, then place this KO, go down to 2 life, and then once you're at 2 life, like everything is active. The Luffy is, this ace is. You're able to be closer to fulfilling your combos. And yeah, and then just 2 ace. It used to be like my main beat stick and the way I get it out right now, but a lot of the decks in the format are 5 life leaders, so hitting them for 7 early isn't as impactful as it was against the 4 life leaders. But it is just a body that comes down. I do find this still relevant into a lot of the matchups. No one likes to be hit by 7. It's just not as scary as it used to be. This very good against Bonnie as well, because sometimes you'll just go like swing with lead or swing with your characters, they'll use effect to rest, but then you can play the ace after and still get an attack through, so they're not as safe as they want to be. So yeah, that's all 5 costs. I don't foresee anything. If anything changes, it'll be this Sabo, but honestly I'm quite enjoying it right now, so don't really want to drop it. I am very tempted to drop one of the baby aces. So the reason I'm running 3 of the baby ace is because even I only run 2 of the 5 cost, these are very loopable with your leader effect, and I always need more of these than I'll ever need more of the 5 costs. So as long as you get one of these out when it gets KO'd or when it gets like redone with your loop, you can lead effect again back and have access to another baby ace in your hand, which does come up sometimes. But I'm tempted to drop one of these for one of the cards that you'll see in a moment. Get these out of the way. Where are we? There we are. For Moria, yeah, I don't really need to say anything. Like on 10 Don, you're able to just go 2 Don underneath your leader, lead effect, and put 2 5 costs in your life, then Gecko Moria for 2 babies that would bring them out. Or I'll be on 1 life knowing what it is. For example, if this Sabo is face up in life, I'll Moria, bring out a Sabo, and then lead effect for whichever other baby that I brought out. So I'm on 1 life, 9k base, and you just played 2 characters as well. So very strong. The deck's quite reliant on seeing the Moria, to be honest, but also if you just play better and don't ever discard your babies if you know you're not seeing a Moria, then honestly you'd be fine. Next up is a bit of an odd choice in Isho. This card, you will see more and more of it. It's like everywhere right now. If your deck is running black, they're probably running an Isho now. I've seen some lists go up to 3 and 4 of these in the Lucci, because it's very good against Monkey D. Luffy. It's very good against green, yellow, the mirror. Like Ishoing someone when they have 6 cards in hand can actually be game ending, and that's why I'm running one, is because 1, it catches people off guard, and they don't expect it from me. A lot of people will stall out, and you'll just be in a situation where they're just like trying to slow you down, get to the late game, play as many big bodies as they can. But when you play down the Isho and they lose 2 cards from their hand, you kind of like skew that a lot, and it can put them in a really bad position, especially if you already have some 5 costs out, because then you're able to go Isho, they lose 2 cards, and then you can just like swing for smaller numbers instead of having to be huge like you usually would have to be. And also the reason I'm enjoying it so much is because sometimes on the 8 Don turn, you're in an awkward spot where you want to do combos but you don't see like yourself damages, and you don't want to just dry play a Moria because you're only going to get like 1 Garp or a small amount of value. But if you play down the Isho, you're able to get a lot of value by removing it from your opponent. And also it does have that Don X1, your turn, give all your opponent's characters -3. And although this doesn't help us deal with the big problem cards like the 9 cost Zoro or the 8 cost useless kid that the green cards are running, it is very useful for us to be able to remove the 5 and 6 cost characters and 7 cost characters. 5, 6, and 7 cost characters right now, mainly the 5 costs, because if you have an Isho out and you have a Don under it, you can just KO any of the problematic cards with this Luffy. And what's really nice about this is a floating effect as well, so if your characters are full rested, you can Monkey D. Luffy, use effect to KO a Hawkins. You're fully rested, so the Hawkins protection isn't there. Now this is the card that I'm very much tempted to drop one of the baby aces for another copy of, because it really does just catch people off guard. It's nice to be able to play the bodies down, and in some matchups like the Bonnie, like the Enel, it is a race to see who can get cards down that are bigger first, but you have the advantage if you're able to get yours down ahead of either of theirs because they're very much like playing on eggshells in case you can just full combo. So they leave you on life, whereas you're usually just swinging in. So I'm very much tempted to put this at a 2 and see how I get on with it. But we'll see. We'll see. It's something that might change in the future. Next up is our 2Ks. We've got the 4 Flampe, 4 Hiyori, and 2 Makino. I know I don't have all the alt arts. Don't come at me. How expensive these are? I got a good deal on this one, but I don't want to spend another 100 and whatever pounds on 2K alt arts. Flampe is good in the early game, but terrible in the late game. It's just a one-cost way to get value. It's basically unplay, lose a card, draw 2 cards. So, yeah, you can't complain. Again, you want to get down to 2 life where possible in most matchups, depending on your hand. So, playing out the Flampe early is nice value. Hiyori is the goat, honestly. It's like the main way that we're able to do any early combos of getting a 5-cost character out. On 4 Don, some games it's okay to go Hiyori, place in like a Luffy, then baby Luffy to have your leader 7k, bring out a Luffy, and then like self-damage to put yourself to 2 life. But you definitely have to be careful of like just burning yourself out and putting yourself on 2 little life or 2 little power, because you can just kill yourself immediately. But it is really, really good. And then 2 Makino, because 1, everyone runs 2 Makino, but 2, it is actually still very useful. If you get this out turn 1, you can stack your entire life and then see what's there. But mainly, honestly, I'll do this turn 2 if I have 3 or 4 Dawn, so that I can do this and then immediately follow up with a baby, so that my opponent doesn't attack into me and I don't have to play any mind games. But it's good, just unplay, add a card to life, sort your life. It's fine. And then next up is a card that I hate in this list, but it's kind of mandatory right now. It's Ice Age. Yeah, just main, give up to one of your opponent's characters -5 cost during the turn. And I hate this. I hate the fact that I have to run this, but this is strictly for the 9-cost Zoros from green right now, because as soon as anyone plays that down, it's like you just insta-lose. And it sucks because it doesn't matter how you play. If they play it down, you don't have an answer, you've lost the game. Like, honestly, and it just feels so annoying when you play a game perfect and they drop it and you don't have an answer. It's just, okay, so you have to run the Ice Age so that you can go Ice Age, Space Luffy. But even then, it still kind of like messes up your tempo, because your Don turns are very, very like specific in what it is that you're trying to do, and having to use a Don is frustrating. A lot of people are running like the 4-cost Kuzans alongside the Thunderbolts, but they do the similar thing. You may as well run the Ice Age instead of that right now, to be able to just combo with the Luffy. And honestly, like, if you can get that down, and you don't immediately get like 10-cost dough feed after you've like cleared things up, you're in a pretty good spot. So if you can get it down and they don't have another one immediately, you can kind of shock them into you winning the game, which it does come up. Also, I will sometimes in the early game, if my opponent played like an early Moria or an early Isho, specifically Isho, because it makes it so much easier for them to wipe my board. Being able to Ice Age and then just Space Luffy away a big body does come up in some of those matchups. So it is a good card. I just hate the fact that I can't run not this, and I hate the fact I have to run these specifically because of one card that might come up sometimes in the meta. I think it's very annoying. But yeah, that's the list right now. I've already mentioned some of the small changes that I might be doing in the future. Let me know if this is a deck that you're looking to run yourself, and yeah, have a great day. Peace.